What is up, everybody? Hi, hello, what is up? Okay, so, hi, hello. I'm firelotusthewitch. If you did not know, I've been doing this for about, I want to say 5, almost 6 years, which is hard to fucking believe. But anyways, here during these live witches chats, we kind of go over a little bit of everything regarding witchcraft, spirituality, and everything it's between, except for politics or any of the world religions that causes arguments and shit like that. Um, Today is also Tuesday, the 2nd, August the 2nd. Cannot wait for this month to just kind of fly on by. Now, the reason I stated that is because I live in Florida, which is, this is prime hurricane season, so hopefully we won't have to deal with that. But, I just started my process of fucking shadow work. Now, you'll hear that term a lot when it comes to the pagan places online, but there's a lot of different definitions to it when in reality there shouldn't be. So there is the shadow work that Carl Jung created, which is basically the entire point of that specific therapeutic work is to break down your ego. Fun fact, if you had any type of childhood trauma before the crucial stages of development, you don't have a full ego. So that can actually be harmful for you. Now, the term that I originally learned, which was shadow work, oh, I cannot wait to see it. Um, Also amazing. Um, but the point of the shadow work that I learned was kind of the same but slightly different. As in, you were supposed to turn the mirror inward, not focusing on your ego or anything like that, as much as you're hyper fixating on your insecurities. In other words, things that you don't like about yourself. Why do you not like them? Why do certain situations trigger you? And basically, the point of this, primarily journaling, or you could even do it in video, like vlogging, is to basically try to find the root cause of that insecurity and or issue and come to terms with it, basically becoming one with your shadow self. If you do any type of shamanic practices, that is a huge concept in it of coming to terms and being on the same page. It's kind of like no longer fighting with your inner demons and becoming their best friends, but with your insecurities. Now, I just started the journey. I've scrolled the interwebs yesterday multiple times, primarily on Tumblr, just to get a few ideas of like some of the props that I'll be using. Well, how I'm going to do this for the community as well, if you would like to follow along, which is basically through TikTok. I'm going to be making videos every single day of some of the issues that I'm going to be working on. Today's video was basically pointing out all of the insecurities that I have about my body. Oh, I forgot to message you and give you the inside of the shamanic shadow work. Making a note to do so. Yes, thank you so much. Now, if anybody wants to get a little bit more in depth with this specific one, in Christopher Penczak's third book in the Temple of Witchcraft series, it's like this dark blue purple one. The entire book is basically a year and a day shadow work. Now, I will warn you that the meditation that they have in that book to where you confront your shadow self, just make sure you're prepared for whatever the fuck happens if you do that meditation, because holy shit, there's a lot going on. Now, another thing that I wanted to talk about, and it's very interesting, and we've never really been, to this extent, we've never been able to see this play out as much as it is. So, if you've been on TikTok for a while, you know that somebody at some point randomly threw fucking cinnamon powder in their door and saying, you need to do this at the beginning of every month because it'll bring in prosperity and all that shit. Instead of wasting so much powder, unless you just want to, just buy a cinnamon broom, hang it on your door. When you open your door and it swings out, it's taking out the negative energy and swiping in the positivity and prosperity. Hello, hello. But what I'm noticing is, and I'm not going to fully state that like it's specifically wholly inherited started on TikTok, although I have never seen that mentioned in any type of book that I've ever read before. So for this conversation's sake, we're going to state that it only started on TikTok. And now it's been at least 2 years that I'm aware of it. So this morning I wake up and there's over 30 witches throwing cinnamon through their door. Why am I bringing this up? We have officially changed witchcraft history. What I mean by this is TikTok, the internet, has finally starting to start our own traditions, and it's altering it. In a very bad way, maybe. In a very good way, maybe. It's. I will state within the next 5 years, we're going to have more confused people when it comes to witchcraft than we ever have before. Some of the conversations that they're having right now are stupid. Some they need to have. But in reality, and for the people that love coming here because I do talk about shit on that app, here's a kicker. There are some people in the community that have started their own version of, I will say it right now, Salem witch trials. What do I mean by this? So here recently we had, I'm not even going to say a problematic creator. This person was automatically, or fucking already problematic. Supposedly, I don't really know enough about them. Um, but basically, they had been going back for almost 2 years. Something finally happened, the head in the coffin, and it blew the fuck up. So this is their idea of justice and holding somebody accountable for what they're doing, which was what? Invite them to a live so they can basically be grilled and or educated by all the people who dislike them in every single shape or way. You literally just held a live witches trial. Think about it, specifically Salem. What do we know that we believe started the Salem witch trials? A couple of bored, angry teenage girls who basically learned that if they point their finger in the right direction, they have power. They have a type of power that they've never had before due to the fact that they had so much attention on them. And just by whispering a name and acting something out, like a fetch is attacking them, they basically had complete and utter control. Guess what we're seeing right now happen on this social media app? Because what people do not understand is the world of TikTok, the reality outside of that are completely different. And I mean magic practices as well. If you go to a native's reservation and you talk to their medicine man and or their chief, the one that's highest up, and you ask him some of the things that you've heard online, they are going to laugh in your face. If you go to a shaman and ask a shaman about some of the things that are being argued right now. Currently, about 3 witches are trying to ruin another witch's career, as in that's their business that they're doing, as a Celtic shaman. There's this huge argument going back and forth that there is actually no historical evidence that shamanism was actually in Celticism and all this other shit. Basically, they're attacking this one person. Currently, right now, due to that one conversation, the Scottish witches are fucking trying to close things that no other Scottish witch has closed. And what we're seeing is we're seeing people of their own specific community come into an entitlement, as in they feel the need to go ahead and speak for all the other Scottish people. And this is not just with Scottish. This is in almost every single other fucking area of witchcraft, and that's the problem. There is no authoritating figure. We no longer have the Witches' Council, and if y'all did not know that, I know here in the United States at least twice, we actually did have a Witches' Council, as in some of the greatest witches at that point in time came together, and they basically created this board so they could fight the justice system to basically get Wicca as recognized as a federal holiday, which it is. But what most people don't understand is when it comes to like federally being recognized as a Wiccan, the only time that really, really, truly works at a job thing is if you have a state job. Trust me, I've fucking worked in so many different areas, and I told them, look, I'm a pagan. These are the holidays that I would like off. They laughed in my face. Some of them tried to like kind of work with it, but at the same time, that's only really recognized on a state and or federal level. Now, obviously, if there is a hate crime that happens revolving witchcraft, then yes, it can also be held up in court. But what this huge thing is now, and I fucking hate the internet because they're going to wind up creating it, because why? Sometimes, not all the time. I know this thought can trigger people with anxiety. Our words and thoughts shape our reality. Now put that on a larger scale with other witches who practice magic. You know the number one thing they've been saying? They're going back and forth right now stating that the next elite thing that's going to happen here in the United States is them attacking witchcraft and making it illegal, basically restarting the entire Salem witch trial. Why will this not work? Could it work? Yes, 100%. There have been so many things that they recently changed or tried to throw out here in the United States that just doesn't make fucking sense. We might as well be living back in the 16th and 15th century. But from the very, very small amount of law that I understand about how laws are actually taken to place, it has to be as in something has to happen on a larger scale to where witchcraft has to go to the court system. Now, we do have this weird extremist party that's fucking extreme Christians with like political shit. Not getting into that, but that we should be cautious about that, especially if they actually start getting feeding where they can actually pass laws. Anyways, it would take something on a actual huge scale for it to be brought to the U.S. court system for them to actually try it. Now, we do still have certain laws in certain states when it comes to future reading, card reading, and psychics, to where you either have to have a permit and or you have to legally, if you sell your services, you legally have to state that this is for entertainment purposes only, due to the fact that there are still some laws set into place that actually goes against that. I know that there are certain states, in order to actually set up a actual legit tarot reading table, you have to get a permit through the city council. But that's also going to be slightly different depending on where you go. But it would take something huge involving witchcraft and the occult to actually be triggered to the point where it would have to go through a full legal system in order for them to actually do that. Not to mention, there are so many... Wow, okay. We're having a moment with the Discord. But it would take something hugely to actually spark that, to kind of reset that up. And if nothing really came from the crazy fucking preacher that was trying to go after witches before, and or all the other fucking trolls who leave comments like, I'm coming to hunt you, there are more of us than there are of them. There are so many more of us, to the point where a lot of them are still in the closet, but you have lawyers, doctors, surgeons, fucking scientists, all of these people all around the world, including in the political aspect as well. So if you see videos and shit like that, don't. It's just the argument like I made yesterday with the whole guns. Yes, the U.S. Army or the U.S. military can straight up say, or the U.S. government say, hey, return all your guns. The problem is, there are more guns in the United States than they themselves even know. It's the same thing with witchcraft books and everything like that. Hello! Isn't Druidism similar to shamanism? Yes, from my understanding, yes. Druidism is extremely close to shamanism and Druidism. There's even an argument right now that the people that are calling themselves Druids are not actually Druids, due to the fact that Druids, kind of like natives, did not really believe in actually writing their sacred knowledge down as much as by passing it through word of mouth. So therefore, I mean, there's an argument right now that folk practices, there's not actually witches and or folk practices. And let me tell you this, if you have somebody in your circle, and due to the fact that they're afraid that witchcraft may become illegal now, and they like get defensive and or like not want to practice, they're not a real witch. I'm sorry. If you claim to be a witch, boy, I'm a druid. LOL. Okay, see there, and see again, I've never really heard these conversations until TikTok. At any point in time. And again, it has to do with the authoritating figures. When people start gaining in followers, luckily with me, I don't understand numbers. So 30,000 people is nothing to me. It's having neighbors, I guess. But some people get that and they take that as they become the authoritating figure in the community, when in reality, they're not. And it's been trending too, as in you'll see somebody around the same age. It's got to be an age-wise. And they will bring that like bitchy attitude to where they know exactly what they're saying is right and true. In reality, in their universe, yes, 100%. I'm personally tired of the whole popular shit. I'm tired of the whole bitchiness that people are bringing. I mean, yeah, be a bitch. I don't care. But if you're going to be a bitch, own the bitch. Don't be a bitch. If you were making a video, even a YouTube video, and you were trying to correct somebody and or educate somebody, you're not going to talk down to them. You're not going to insult them. And if you don't know how to talk to somebody and educate somebody without actually talking down to them, you should not be a teacher and or educator in any way, shape, or form. The entire point of educating somebody is to make sure they do not feel stupid and or feel ridiculed, while also being able to get your points across of why this is incorrect or anything like that. And to all the people that are doing this, well, that person needs to be held accountable. You also need to be held accountable in the responsibility that if you have somebody that is in your friend group calling out people for doing racist and problematic things, it's in your responsibility as a good friend to also call the people that's in your friend circle to call them out as well. Just saying. Yes, I agree with that 100%. And see, that's the problem. That's one of the reasons I had to step back. I realized that I started making videos and I'm like, wait, I'm not the authoritating figure here, so fuck it. Primarily the Graveyard Dirt video. That blew the fuck up in a way that it was not meant to. And it was taking the wrong way with that at the same time. I was educated because I did not know that there are some cultures and practices to where, yes, you go to where your loved one's remains are at, and you either get the remains, like powdered remains, crematory remains, and or dirt from their grave and you mix it in with your garden and mix it around your property. I had no idea that was a thing. Um, but the problem with this is, and the problem with the witches, when I say this, I'm not saying all witches on the app are the same. They're not. I know a lot of ones that stay out of the drama. They teach, they educate, they try to push each other up. And if you are in a community to where it's just pushing one person up versus pushing all the other people up, reevaluate that community. Ours hopefully is like that, to where we're just pushing people up. We're not like trying to get ahead of anybody, and we're all kind of a family. I guess I have to reevaluate the Discord. Too many are thinking the age ministry being wise. I've learned a lot from witches that are half my age. Exactly, and same. Which I always admit that, like, I'm not an expert. I've been practicing for a while, yes, but that doesn't make me an expert in anything. And I don't know, it's getting worse. Also, if I randomly start looking over this way, I have an incense behind me on my altar that's burning, and the smoke is slowly falling like this. And due to the fact that I have the light on and it's shining right here, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it just looks like mist is coming up and like a hand's trying to grab me. Anyways, I'm okay. But that's what I hated, and that was one of the reasons I still may eventually leave TikTok, because it's just not worth it anymore. I'm not being paid for it. I'm not making money for it. So everything that I'm doing is just for the community, which I'm okay with. That's the reason I started this, is to heal as many people as possible. Now, yesterday we talked about sacrifice and the difference between sacrificing and giving an offering. There's also this newer thing that's kind of arising in the witchy community that I wanted to address, because for one, it's just like the Wiccan Read. Not everybody's going to follow that shit. But to me, it sounds more Wiccan, and I may be wrong, which is giving a offering and or a sacrifice every single time you collect an item. As in, if you go outside, you were supposed to do. Now, yes, there are some cultures. In Druidism, I believe, when they collected the mistletoe, they would actually, like, at the exact same time they cut the mistletoe, because it's not supposed to fall and actually touch the ground, they would also sacrifice a cow and or a bull. So that's what they mean. But what this newer thing is every single time you go outside to pick something off your property, you were supposed to give an offering. Yes and no, the way that I view it. And what I mean by that is, if you're on land that you do not know and you're not used to working there, well, hell yeah, give some type of offering. Now, a lot of people, when they hear offerings, especially because, like, in paganism, most offerings are cakes and things like that. It doesn't have to be. Anything that you can give and or put onto the property that will help. So if it's fruit, make sure it's fruit that, like, wild animals can actually eat and it's not going to harm them. Things like that. Basically do things to help. If you also want to connect with the land spirits the fastest, mycelium. You find a mushroom and you start talking to that mushroom, because that mushroom, thanks to its mycelium, has connected everything else around you. Now, if there are fae, yes, you can work with the fae. No, they are not evil. Can you piss them off? Yes, you can. Are they going to go and steal your children? No, not really. There are a lot of benefits to also working with the fae. I'm also eventually, I'm going to have to talk to reindeer. Because I need to come up with different terms, because fae, it's too much of an umbrella term. I like land spirits, but also, if y'all did not know, I think I posted it on here. If not, I will. We have a new word for empathery. Yeah, empath, the word. It's been retired. We have a new word. I will post that video. One of my good friends and mutuals, Reindeer, actually created a word. And I want to say it's... I'll post the video of it. I give offerings through words. Too many of it. Oh, I give offerings through words and thanks for things on my own property and replenish them. Yes, that is exactly how I do it as well. Land spirits or elementals. I do like that. And normally that's what I'll say. I'll either say land spirits, tiny ones, or tiny people, or small people, and or elementals. Which there's actually, it was one of my very first viral videos on TikTok. I used a term that people did not understand, and or they did not understand the way that I was applying it, which was basically when Rome and Greece was on fire. I was like, the old gods are returning. Everybody, so many people lost their shit. They're like, what do you mean the old gods are returning? They're already here. You did not understand the assignment, Dave. It's okay. What I meant by that is more of an elemental thing. What do I mean by this? What is currently hurting our Earth more? The Earth is fighting back by what? Climate change. Our weather has dramatically changed, right? Hurricanes, volcanoes, land hurricanes, blizzards, all of these storm systems, scientists have stated, especially when it comes to hurricanes, that they are almost basically alive, as in they have their own mind. They can do whatever the fuck they want to. I picture those as true elementals and or the old ones, as in they are the full force elemental of the pure energy of a volcano or a earthquake or a hurricane or fucking a monsoon. That is what I meant by that. And the old gods, they are returning. What I mean by the old gods, if you want to look at it on a timeline, it would technically be like the Mesopotamian gods. They're also returning. Due to the Earth, when the entire Earth shut down due to COVID. Can we say COVID now, or are we still saying Palmarama? When that happened, a lot of people re-woke up. We went through another renaissance, if you will. And a lot of people became more in touch with these things. And then also with that, these whole other things have also been created because too many people are giving too much energy. And spirits, how about environmentals? Actually, I like that, environmentals. So do I, and Bigfoot. I feel he's a gatekeeper to elemental. Yes, same. We actually recently had a more up-to-date Bigfoot incident happen. Believe it or not, that is one of the only fucking things that actually scared the teetotal shit out of me. And the reason that was, and I've got to find the movie, when I was younger, and I mean like I'm almost a toddler, and I'll never forget this fucking movie. We were watching a movie, and I want to say it's Swamp Man. It's not Swamp Thing, because this was like made probably in the 80s on like an old school video recorder. And it was this family. These kids were outside. I can picture it so vividly in my head. These kids were outside, and all of a sudden the sun sets. You see the mom come out of this like cabin, you know, hollering for the kids to come back, and the kids start to run because all of a sudden you hear this sound come from the swamp that like basically sounds like what we know as like Sasquatch noises. And the kids start running, as the camera's also doing it, running back to the house, right? And they're all in there, and this fucking guy goes to use the bathroom. And as he uses the bathroom, right next to him, this fucking like monstrous swamp monster hand fucking rips out of the fucking floor and tries grabbing the dude into the floor. I don't know why that reminds me of Sasquatch, but that's probably one of the things that I fear the most about the woods is the Sasquatch. Because unless you have a gun or like a gun, you're fucked. Like, even if you live in a house, if you really piss them off, depending on what type of... I live in a trailer, he could probably just push this bitch over. Scares the shit out of me. Highly respect him, though. I would crap my pants with an experience like that. Same, and I spent, when I got older and, like, we had computers and shit like that, I spent so long trying to find that movie and still have not been able to find it. But I do remember that it came out around the time the first, jack-o'-lantern? The fucking, killer that used to walk around with the actual pumpkin head on, or, not the pumpkin, was it a pumpkin head? He was a scarecrow, basically. Scarecrow comes back to life, walks around with a pitchfork, and starts killing people. You know, I think I need to reevaluate my life, because now a lot of shit's making sense that I watched movies that young, and then I turned out the way that I am now. Anyway, sorry, ADHD squirrel moment here. But when it comes to witchcraft, when it comes to working with your land spirits, be respectful. Basically, just be respectful. Like, you don't pull a Zach and go outside and just start cussing. Although I have done that before. Straight up, 2 4 Locos in, a lot of shit was happening. I went outside and I cussed every fucking god out, and you know what happened? I got 2 cats right after that. So don't do that either. Speaking of that other update, Mama, Valentine, had more kittens. But this time, so far, I'm not touching them. I'm not touching them until they get slightly older, but they're not covered head to toe in fleas. So, also, she had another Siamese cat. So, fuck my life with the repeating patterns. Literally, she had 4 different black and white cat, or different shades of black and gray, and then she had one solid white cat. That's Siamese. Got the brown eyes, got the little brown nose, stripes, all of it. Anyways, so there's an update. Um, but yeah, when it comes to witchcraft, be respectful. If you hear something online, currently the conversations that are going online of what's closed and open, which do not make fucking sense, is eggshells, rainwater, stormwater, and I think tarot cards at this point. None of that are closed, okay? None of it are. Not to mention the definition of a closed practice that they have, it doesn't make sense. And the reason that is, are there actual closed practices out there? Yes, oh my god, 100%. But what's wind up happening is the same thing that I dealt with when I first joined the app and started talking about Southern Conjurer. Specifically, I used to say Southern Hoodoo, but it's actually more politically correct to say Southern Conjurer. Folk magic specifically has a lot of other things that are the same in other practices with a different spiritual meaning. So voodoo, they use brick dust. So did the Egyptians. So do Southern Conjure practitioners. Southern Conjure is a mixture of Appalachian folk magic, other folk practices mixed with hoodoo. I wouldn't necessarily, well, no, technically it's traditional hoodoo too, because there are two kinds of hoodoo and there are two kinds of voodoo. Actually, there are multiple kinds of voodoo depending on the area. New Orleans, it would be Creole voodoo. There's Mississippi River voodoo. There is actual traditional voodoo. There is traditional hoodoo. And then there's the hoodoo that we have here in the United States that, due to the complex history of it, it's kind of all over the place. But yeah, and then if you bring something into your practice, because at one point in time it was called being a collectic witch, just be respectful of it, do the history of it, make sure you honor the people that were doing it before then, is what I'm trying to say. And if you have anything in your practice that has sparked conversations online, just keep it offline. And for the love of God, the more information people have on you, the easier it is to do something to you. Going around saying your big threes when it comes to astrology, don't do that. Tell them one or two. Don't fucking give everything. No. Critical thinking. And there we go. Oh, yeah. I also have these, so I'll be pulling like 3 cards to see what the universe has to say for us. Like I said, tomorrow, more than likely, what I'm planning on doing tomorrow is, fortunately, it will not be YouTube. I have a podcast interview to do tomorrow. So what's going to wind up happening is I'll go live on TikTok tomorrow. Thursday, I will also possibly go live on TikTok as well, due to the fact that I have another interview as long as everything works out right. I personally lie about my big 3 online because nobody needs to know. Yes, exactly. I love it. If I can find the info on Google or in a book, it's not close to me. And see, a lot of other people say that too, and I used that argument before. I was like, if all these practices are closed, then why the fuck is there so much information on them? How much information can you find on native practices? You can't, except for smudging. You can't really find any other like ritualistic things. Why? Because it's actually closed. But then people say the whole colonization thing where white people started practicing and then tried to make money off of it. And they're not wrong, but at the same time, true closed practices, they're not going to have a website. They're not going to have a book all. So, yeah. Not to mention, like I will always say, if you have been born in the United States, you have multiple generations in the United States, we are all fucking mutts. We are all Heinz 57 here. There are a lot of things mixed into us. On local news, or other news on worldwide news, apparently a German expert has labeled cats as extraterrestrials. I have no idea, but apparently there's some weird thing with their genetic that like doesn't make sense. So yeah, if you have a cat, congratulations, you have an alien. You can buy multiple herbal books, but that's about it. I've been looking for years to support things I know. Same, like I have one book that I do not show online that much because I don't know what it classifies as, because it is a native herbal book. Basically how has all their knowledge on it. I've always joked about cats being from another world. They very well may be now. And then octopuses. They actually genetically sequence the octopus's DNA, and there's nothing in our databases. As in, at one point in time, octopuses just did not exist here on Earth. A very, very fringe theory was that, like, maybe a meteorite or something like that, like a chunk of ice, hit Earth and boom. But yeah, at one point in time in the evolution of Earth, octopuses somehow managed to just pop into an existence. Also, if you want to fall down another weird rabbit hole with that, go check out eels. And I'm not joking. Go check out, like, eels in the United States, or I mean, in the oceans. That'll fuck you up too, because it fucked me up. We also talked a little bit about yesterday about the UFOs and everything that we're seeing. We don't actually. Some people, which I'm now a believer, I don't believe they're coming from space. I believe they're coming from a different dimension. Now, my question is, how would we be able to poke that dimension? Because, see, I am opening my mind more to a lot of things that, because there are a lot of experiences that I had that I cannot explain. What first started all of this was the dream. For about 2 weeks straight, I would go to sleep in the daytime and or at night. And what would wind up happening was I would go to this one specific area. This place, it looked like it would be like up in England, or the coast of like Maine and Massachusetts, except we had cars and vehicles that ran, but we didn't really use money. It was more of a bargaining issue. In other words, we would bargain things. And there multiple dreams happened, but it was in the exact same location every single night. I had people from my real life there. I had people that, like, I didn't know in real life, but I knew in my dreams. And I did find one location that was in my dream that is basically this giant crystal store that was actually an old church that had, they bought it and converted it into a crystal store. But it was slightly different. And here's something that's going to make me sound even more fucking out there, but I will not know until future years. I randomly came across somebody who I follow on TikTok, and her husband bought this giant ass church that they're basically redoing it and turning it into their art. They're amazing when it comes. She is amazing when it comes to art. They do glass, all of that. How they're setting the outside look up with the gardening and everything else, it was in my dream, except for there were white tarps connected to it, like the fucking things that you would see at weddings, the like tents that you would see. There were those connected to the church, and it was just like this massive, like, giant yard sale, but there were witches everywhere. Like, the energy was different. And like I said, we didn't use money. Well, another incident like that, except for outside of a dream, that I can only technically call it quantum leaping. I'm not going to say shifting. Although I do have another theory on that and why some people are wrong. Or at least in my head. Anyways, I had this moment where I was talking on my partner. I was talking on the phone with my partner. He was on his way home from work. And I think we were talking about the end of the world or something. I forgot what started it. And all of a sudden, everything around me completely fucking changed. Now, in reality, this happened like a blink of an eye. But when I experienced it, it lasted like a minute or 2 minutes. And it was almost flashes, as in, like, I would come back and I was in this body, and I'd blink again, and I was like in my same body, but in a different time. It was almost post-apocalyptical. We had like walkie-talkies instead of phones. And he was trying to go on a run. And I remember loading a pow pow. It was very weird, but it was one of the most realist experiences I've ever had that I cannot explain. It wasn't a premonition. And the reason this fascinated me was because right before the pandemic really hit the United States, my partner went into a gas station, a Circle K. We were getting off of work, and it was really late at night, so it was kind of dead. And I sat out in the car. He walked in, but it was his reaction and his face when he walked out. He looked like he had just seen a fucking ghost. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened from you? You literally walked in there, grabbed a drink, packed of cigarettes, paid for gas, and came back out. He said that when he walked in there, it was this weird glitch, as when he went through the doors, what he saw was basically like almost in a horror movie, as in the shelves and shit were like dusty and like there was trash, basically like apocalyptic world. So like imagine the world is going to shit, and everybody starts panicking. That's how it looked like. We didn't understand what it meant. 2 weeks later was when they officially announced here in the United States that COVID had officially arrived. Good morning. So those were different experiences that I cannot metaphysically explain besides quantum leaping. Now, a lot of people would be like, why are you using the term quantum leaping? The reason I'm using that term is because that's technically what my magic is, except for it's quantum manipulation. I have this weird thing where I can see tiny, tiny little dots. Okay, so like imagine a bubble, right? And in that bubble, there's a dot. Okay, but outside of that, there's like 3 layers. It's very weird and hard to explain because they're translucent but metallic-ish, like shimmery, if you will. I see this every day. With every time I look, I see it, especially in the sky. And I can hone into it. So since I realized that I could see those, and no, they're not like the little weird floating things that we have right here. And yes, when I do magic or raise energy, they become increasingly more active, if you will. They become more vivid. I learned at a very young age, okay, and I did kind of get this from Charmed. Charmed, primarily Piper's powers. There was scientific backing behind that, as in the way that they explained how the powers work. She what? She either sped up molecules and particles until they combusted, or she slowed them down until they froze. So I used to do the same thing. I still do. When I do magic, I am either speeding up those molecules or I am slowing them down. Scientific definition of that would be quantum manipulation, which I believe that's what magic is. I mean, think about it. Magic, witches are basically alchemists as well, because depending on how you do your magic, you have 5 to 6 objects, correspondences. You have to individually link all of them together to transmute that energy from what those solid objects outside of themselves were to the newest object that you're trying to blend them into and then push them out. Alchemy, you're transmuting energy into a different thing, which is perfect because what have we always been told? Energy can never be destroyed. It can only what? It can only change shape. As in, it only changes, but it can never actually be destroyed. That's what magic is. It's the manipulation of the world around you to get a desired outcome. I understand the quantum stuff. I use quantum touch in my healing. My hubby gets so mad when I tell him magic is spicy psychiatry and spicy science. Oh my god, yes, it really is. Interesting thing too, you bring the touch thing up. So I heard this is Reiki, but I'm not saying I'm a Reiki master or anything like that. But so I have this very, very weird thing with my body, and there may be a medical issue with it too. I'll be getting that checked out very soon, actually. But my core temperature, as in the amount of heat that comes off me, is fucking insane. And what I mean by that is in the wintertime, I freeze my ass off, but anybody near me, literally heat will radiate to about like that high off of me. And it's intense, tense heat. Last night, we went through this weird, I have no idea what happened. It was a nice day, and then around 5 or 6 o'clock, it was like hell had been unleashed on Earth. Our AC unit could not keep this place cool. So when my partner got home about 8, I was trying to tell him, I'm like, is it just me or is it like really, really fucking hot in here? And he's like, it's just you. And I walked up to him and literally held my hand this far away from his face. And he goes, no, I can feel your heat. Is that what Reiki people do, where they have heat that radiates from their hands to where they can like hone that in? Because I've been able to do that. It's not Reiki, but energy does that in general. Okay. Well, for some reason, somebody turned on my heating thing because holy shit. But the cool thing is, I can heal by touch. With my ex, I used to do what we called, tickling? It's this weird thing that we can do with our fingertips to where we'll do like this. Energy tracing is what we call it, like this, and your skin reacts to it. And I want to push that further to see if I can actually try to heal. Not that I would ever state that I'm Reiki or anything like that. I'm a Reiki master. It's not Reiki. Okay, thank you. I will also stop using that term. I'll start using, well, energy tracing. But these are things that I wish people would focus on to actually try to actually figure out what it is and or at least come up with a term for it. Like I said earlier, and I'll post that video. I think it's a 1 minute video, so I may have to post it on shorts here on YouTube. But we came up with a new term for empaths. And I think it's time. I officially think it is time now to start coming up with different terms for some of the things that we can do. Another thing that I can do, and I've only found the term once, I can see the vibrations of plants. And depending on what I need is depending on if the vibration is going to be really, really high or really, really low, or fast or slow. And I found a term for it that it is a psychic ability or an ability that humans can have with picking up things like that. Yeah, people use Reiki a lot for energy manipulation, but not all energy manipulation is Reiki. Oh, no, I understand what you're saying. Oh, I do like that too, energy transferring. Kind of. I don't like that because there's this conception that when people read your cards and stuff like that, that you're making an energy exchange, and I'm like, I'm not. I don't connect with people's energy when I read them. The only time I connect with somebody's energy is if I'm doing magic and or spell work on them. And then even then, it's not like I'm like, yo, I'm all up in your shit. It's just like, knock, knock. I just wanted to let you know. There you go. But we need new terms. There are too many umbrella terms in the witchy and metaphysical community, and the new age spiritual community is not helping. Now, when I mean new age, I do not necessarily mean just spirituality, but the new age stuff, the people that are mixing everything together, because somehow we went from being starseeds to indigos to CERN is causing it all. The fuck? Do I believe the particle collider can fuck shit up? Yes. The only reason I say that is in a hypothetical way. We just found 3 particles that never existed. Somebody explain that to me. And it's not the fact that, like, whoa, we just didn't discover them. No, they were never there to be discovered until this last time that CERN was cut on. Or, let me rephrase that. The particle collider was turned on. And it's so funny because do I believe, and I watched 3 videos on what happens if a black hole, if they created a black hole, theoretically, from what we understand, it would be so small that it wouldn't do anything to us. But if they're doing experimental quantum, whatever the fuck it's called, do they really know how it's going to affect us? That's all I'm saying. CERN was the thing last time it hit the news too, and I love it. I love conspiracy theories so much. Honestly saying, I do love conspiracy theories. I just don't like the fact that for somehow they are mixing in with witchcraft. And I mean, I came out with the series, which I need to make more videos on, which is the Tin Witch's Hat, the Tinfoil Witch's Hat. But it's just weird because there are some people that are just connecting everything with it. Like, there are a group of people right now that do not believe Native Americans were here first. They believe that they were brought here I have to watch how I'm saying this to make it sure I don't offend anybody, but there are certain people that believe that there's a conspiracy that just like how slaves were brought here, their theory is the people that eventually did the slave route or helped with the slave trade also brought indigenous people here. Not really going to touch that with a 5-foot pole. If you think that's bad, you should read what others think of natives. Ooh. Yeah, I do want to fall down that hole. Beats me. There are some people in that same group that are grouping it with Ancient Aliens. Now, do not get me wrong. I love that show. I'm not even going to lie. And there are a lot of things that they do have a lot of similarities. And the way that I look at it when it comes to like the ancient alien thing, like, what if? Do I believe they're aliens? No. Do I believe they're interdimensional beings? Possibly, yes. But I do know on an archaeologist level that there were structures here that were not made by the people that inhabited them, due to the fact that they date way back more than that. Natives, aliens, I'm an alien. It's just, it's very weird how people are construing things, and what pisses me off the most about TikTok is somebody can literally take a screenshot of an article. The newest one that I said was they had proof that we live in a simulation due to the fact that researchers examined Google Earth and found out that there were multiple glitches, as in there were multiple fake places that were literally just completely fabricated and made up. And I was like, wait, you're only showing that, well, you're only showing the news line, right? The actual, like, title of it. And somebody in the comments was like, did you even read that article? So in other words, I can literally take a screenshot, and I've done it once, because I got a text message, I got a tweet that I thought was actually true, and then 2.5 weeks later it turned out to be true. But I was called out on it about how it wasn't true. So, like, do your research a little bit. But I do like conspiracy theories. I just want to be able to figure out more of magic. And we have a platform for that. The only problem is most people on there want to have the same damn conversation over and over again. Like, Now, I will be making a video. Somebody commented on one of my videos, and they're like, well, why not get all the witches to bring rain to the spots here in the United States that need it? We've already went over this. We don't have enough. How do I put this? The natural balance is way too chaotic, and or as it's chaotic because we don't understand the natural balance, for us to try to tap into that. I made a whole video on weather manipulation. No, I believe in weather manipulation, but it's the same thing that happened with, not Arizona, fucking Australia. They had floods. A bunch of witches summoned rain. The only problem is, they did it all at once. Like, if you're going to summon rain, which can be done, do it in spurts. We don't need to have 200 witches coming together to all call for rain in the exact same moment. That's going to cause massive flooding and monsoons. But if we were to do it slightly sporadical, then hopefully, eventually, it would cause rain. I successfully did a bunch of that a few years back, and the news reported it because it was so weird. Oh, holy shit. Very cool. I've made it rain before, and I've ended a drought. But I've never done it on a bigger scale than that. Okay, ask for a specific amount. Exactly. Yeah, ask for a specific amount and try to word it to where, like, because you got to think, some of these places out California, all through the West, they haven't had rain in a really, really long time. So from my understanding of how it works, if they get a shit ton of rain all in one sitting, it's going to cause flooding due to the fact that the ground can't suck it up fast enough. So, like, kind of spurts. Not to mention, I swear to God, people, we do not need rain in Florida, okay? So leave Florida out of it. Please, we're so close. We have technically we got 2 more months of hurricane season, and then that's it. And the reason I'm saying that is because I'm pretty sure it's not going to be good. It's going to destroy homes. If people send us rain in the West, you're going to cause it. Exactly. That's what I was saying. I was like, y'all have to, like, bigger scale, people have to think of it very closely, because that earth has not been touched by rain. So mudslides, basically the historical flooding in Kentucky, imagine that, but all over the West, which is not going to help anything. And that's why I'm like, yeah, we can, like, manipulate the weather, but not on a global scale like that, because it's the butterfly effect. I'm not going to say it's karma. It's the butterfly effect. If we summon rain and disrupt the stream system that is where the West is at, we don't know what backlash and or ripple effect that's going to cause on the entire other side of the earth. If you don't know what I'm talking about, butterfly effect, a butterfly in Africa can flap its wings at the exact same moment and basically, through proxy of that, cause a hurricane or a monsoon. So everything in our world, it's not karma. If you're going to use the term karma, use it right, people. And the way that people on Witch Talk use it are not fucking correct. Karma, historically, from my understanding, is not from this life. Most of the karma that you were experiencing in this life is from your past life. Now, there are some incidences of where you can experience karma from this life, and then the karma that you rack up in this life is for your next life. Okay, thank you. So, yeah, but the ripple effect. And, like, I don't know. Like, I want to do it because I've been told multiple times that to be a witch, you can't really have fear. But we slightly do need fear to make sure that we're, like, you know, safe. Cause and effect. Exactly. And that's the only thing that... Now, if people where they live at, in the West, all the witches in the West, if they do it, that's slightly different because they've lived there. We need fear to keep us in check. Exactly, 100% with that one. But it's possible it would just be complex and complicated. Now, I will state, or at least here in Florida, how we see it. The rainier it is in the summer, the colder the winter we're going to have. Although what I heard this week, the weather that they are predicting, which, by the way, we have to realize that we are going into a dark state when it comes to weather and predicting the weather, due to the fact that how they predict the weather, or most weather patterns, is by old predictions. Basically, the way that weather has always worked. That officially has been screwed the fuck up thanks to climate change so fast. So the natural weather patterns for your specific area that they used to base their actual predictions on are no longer actually predictable due to the fact that it's no longer current and or active. So we're in this newer area when it comes to actually predicting weather, specifically winter. Which here in Florida, it's weird. There was, I think it's been about 5 years ago or 6 years ago, we did have an Arctic drop here to where it dropped down to like 32 degrees, if not colder, and that was in the daytime. And let me tell you, if you have never experienced winter in Florida, it is different than a lot of other locations because the humidity that we have here in the summer does not go away. It stays here. So imagine it being 38 degrees outside with an 80% humidity. That humidity will affect the actual temperature, so you basically need about 7 to 8 layers before you even go outside. It sucks, because we have days where it's that cold in the morning time, and then by 12 o'clock, you're shedding all of those until it rains or fucking cloud coverage moves in. But yeah, you can manipulate the weather, you just have to do it on small increments. Prime example of that, I collected hurricane water. I used said hurricane water. Our house was hit by an anomalous weather system that did not show up on the radar. And I know this because our local weather person, I talked to them that day or the day after that following morning, when he was live on Facebook. And I asked him, I was like, yo, did anything pop up at this location? And they said no, there nothing. What? And I'm like, what? I have pictures to dictate otherwise. So be careful with the weather. Plus, you're by the water, which drops temperatures. Exactly. It's cool, though. I did not learn that. I just recently learned because I didn't know. If you live on a lake, and you have colder temperatures, you really don't have to worry about a lot of things being hit by frost due to the fact of the amount of heat and moisture that comes off from the lake. But it also depends on the temperature drop. Like, we've been having this weird thing here where, we're country, so we're not country, poor. I don't know how to word that. We have sheets. So like this room is just the one room that we have the AC in. And here recently in the past 3 nights, I've been woken up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, due to the fact the humidity like skyrocketed for some reason, and it's triggered our AC unit to completely freeze up. Which sucks because then we have to turn it down and or off to make sure it completely defrosts and then restart that process over. But it's due to the humidity change. So that sucks. But in general, things are going good. I'm surprised that states haven't been hit by a hurricane yet, when by now they usually would be. Oh no, a lot of people are talking about that. Normally, and knock on wood, we fucking don't, please, dear God. We are having an extremely unnatural like streak of where we're not really being hit and or nothing is actually developing, knock on wood. Now, one thing that is helping our state right now and is also hurting us at the same time is we have this huge bloom of Sahara dust. Normally when Sahara dust comes and settles, it creates moisture from coming in and therefore the perfect environment. That's not. The only problem is, and the reason I'm worried, is we're in August. August and September, primarily between August 10th and I think through the 19th, historically is when we've had the most activity. It's distinctly gross. It's like it's always being in summer. Yep. And it sucks so fucking bad. Like, right now, my AC is on, and it's still, like, only this week, I don't know what it is, because we've been through, like, heat flares, but yesterday, when that temperature hit 108 around 5 and 6, I don't know what blew in with it, but I could not cool this house, or cool this room to save my fucking life. It drove me crazy. But yeah, the weather definitely sucks. I am excited for winter, though, depending on how that goes. But yeah, hopefully we do not get hit by a hurricane, and if we do, by the time it gets to us, we're not going to do anything, because I hate weather right now. But with that being said, well, I'm almost to an hour. I'll probably be cutting this one short after I draw these 3 cards, and then I'm planning on going live on TikTok, hopefully today. When I moved there, I spent about a year watching all of the Weather Channel. Oh, well. I kind of do, but I kind of don't. Here in my location, we do really good and we do really weird because on top of the lake that we have, like this one small cluster, there are multiple other different types of lakes, some really, really big, some really, really small. And what I've noticed is it's helped us not get hit by a lot of storm system. I'm assuming it has to do with the moisture change. But a lot of the times what will happen is we'll have storms build up all around us. And we may get like the offshoots of the rain. But normally they kind of go around us. There have only been a few small locations where freak shit has happened. And like that fucking 3 weeks ago when the neighbor's pine tree fell on it. I was not expecting that because normally most of our storms come from this side of us, or in the front of us. That storm system came from behind us, which also, the reason that was because the weather we were getting that day, which is also weird, it was coming from the east side of the state. So it was coming from that side of the ocean where hurricanes normally do, and it was actually washing over the state. And normally we kind of have the opposite of weather. It kind of comes from here and goes over. It's very weird. Down the street from it. Are you considered to the Kennedy Space Center? Oh, I'm very far away from that. I'm more inland. I'm literally in north central Florida. I was directly on the Indian River. Oh, holy shit! I need to go down there. I've never actually been to Kennedy before. But yeah, that's one good thing we do have about us too. Like Gainesville specifically, they do normally good with hurricanes. To the fact that they're also centered in the state. Gainesville, and one of the reasons it became Gainesville was because they have a huge canopy of trees. So most of the time, really bad storms, by the time they get to them, they lose a lot of power due to the fact that they have to hit the tree line. So we've done okay when it comes to hurricanes, but there's always that one chance, and I don't feel like living out of a car, because if we get that perfect hurricane system, that's exactly what's going to happen. We'll be living out of a car. But, life, it's uncontrollable. But anyways, I'm going to draw 2 instead of 3, and we're going to see what the animals and or spirit has to say to us. And as always, if you would like to book a reading with me and or any type of custom spell work, you can send me an email at firelotusthewitch@gmail.com. Label that magical course, label that reading, custom spell work, and or if you have any magical questions that you need help with and or would like help with, you can also shoot me an email. Alright, I actually haven't got this one yet. We have the elk. Stable, resilient, headstrong, the father. The great elk represents the earth element in its masculine form. This means it provides underlying support and stability amidst life's many challenges. An elk's personality, whether male or female, is fully established in themselves and know their core values. They become known and respected for acting in the ways that they uphold their values. Sometimes the elk's ego can become inflated, but for the most part, they make damn good fathers, mothers, lovers, and friends. The world needs more elk energy. All right. We need more of this. So be stable, be resentful, or resentment, and headstrong. We need more elk energy, apparently. And the last one, the swan. You know, there's a lot of times that I do these where I think they're reading me instead of the universe. Come on. Give me... Oh, massive download. Y'all saw my video. I'm hearing that sound again that I was talking about last week. And it's insane. I can do that, and I love swans. Oh, I love it. All right, effortless, creativity, sensitive, mystic, enlightened power. The swan represents heightened creativity in the Hindu mythology. The goddess, I'm not even going to butcher that, the embodiment of language, creativity, and artistry, rides on the back of its graceful creature. The swan is ready to take us there to the fluid realm of writing, creating, and reflecting. This potent and healing energy is not to be taken for granted or taken lightly. When the swan card appears, your soul is calling for attention. For solo time, an inner voice is waiting to be heard, an inner vision likely to be revealed. You know what I'm getting from this? Shadow work. Both of these had to do with creativity, and this one has to do with writing. My guides are telling me I need to do shadow work. Also, listen to your inner side. Spell the name of the goddess. It is Saraswati. I want to say Saraswati, but I don't think that's right. Saraswati? See, that's the weird thing about this book. It mixed something in it. It mixed a lot of Hinduism in it, and I did not know that. Saraswati? I think I said that right. But, yeah, actually, no. Let's pick one more. This is a little bit fun. Hindu goddess of music. Oh, okay. And the last one, Firefly. I think we've actually got this one before. You are a fireman. You're not a fireman. Oh, you're air element. What the fuck? Yep, we have. Inspired and fantastic, yet fleeing. The firefly contains the light of 1,000 stars. It's pure, radiant, and illuminating. The high-frequency charge cannot be sustained for long. Therefore, the firefly card indicates a moment of inspiration or awakening that quickly fades if we do not catch it. There is a firefly energy behind every poem, song, and invention. Our job is to be ready to harness this creative spirit when it graces our path. What can you do to support the precious and exclusive light? So in other words, be creative today, and when you get that streak of creativity, push it as far as it can go, and great things will happen, whether that's your subconscious and or conscious talking together. There's a voice inside you that wants to be heard, so let it speak. But yeah, until then, that is going to be it for today's live. Like I said, tomorrow I have an interview to do tomorrow, and then I also have one to do Thursday. So more than likely, those will be TikTok days, where I'll go live on TikTok. or I may say screw the live on TikTok and just film a few YouTube videos, because I desperately need to do that. But yeah, thank you all so much for everybody who has watched, who's liked, subscribed, who shared, all of that. Thank you all so much. Also, if at any point in time you'd like to join our Discord, the link will be listed with this video, along with all of my other social links or Amazon wish lists or anything like that. I also have a magical library, basically, of all the books that I have in my collection. So if you'd like to see any of that, just click the link tree that will be posted with this video. And until then, I will talk to y'all later or see y'all later. Please stay hydrated and or cooled off today. And yeah, until then, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.